So this is it for the Imperfect Individual YouTube channel. I am bringing it to a close. This will be my last video. So, you know, a sad day. And I don't know, what do you say on a last video? I think I've done about 450 videos since July 2020. So that's 3.5 years. But they have become more and more sparse, particularly in the last 6 months. That doesn't mean that I've not got as much to say as I always have done. I've always got something to say. And, you know, when you're creating content around society, people, culture, the individual, value systems, propaganda, media, you know, all the topics that I like to explore, you're never short of things to talk about. So that's not the reason that I'm stopping it. To tell you the truth, I am exhausted. I am physically, mentally, psychologically and emotionally. I've gone beyond the point of exhaustion. You know, this isn't hyperbole. It's not me exaggerating. I truly don't know how I've managed to keep going, to be honest with you, after everything that's been thrown at me in my life. I know I'm clearly not the only person who's had to deal with a lot of shit thrown their way. But you know, if you want to know why, then I've got to the point where, yeah, it's taken its toll on my health to a degree that probably only somebody who's in this situation themselves will be able to understand, you know. So this is the last video. I'll leave the channel on. I'm not closing the channel down or anything like that. I'm just saying this is the last video that I'm going to do. So I wanted to explain, as I say, what the main reason for that is. I'm just exhausted. I've got to go in for yet more surgery a week on Friday. And there's also another operation further down the line as well on the knee. So the health hasn't been great. I'm just very tired. I'm very, very tired. I've got no regrets about doing this YouTube channel at all, and I'll come to the part of the video in a minute where I want to say thanks to everybody. What I want to do is to create space in my life for something else, another creative project, which is going to be a second book. I also need to focus on my own health. I am being increasingly drawn away from technology, and for that reason I will be shortly discarding the smartphone that I'm recording this on, and I'll be getting an old school phone that just texts and rings, that does calls and texts. I don't want this phone in my life anymore. And I believe that everybody who owns a smartphone is in some way wrapped up in this insanity where, you know, an object that's, what is it, 2 inches by 6 inches or 7 inches, I don't know, tiny little device that we hold in our hand, it dominates large swathes of our day. And I fall into that category, and it's insane. I need to create some space in my life and to give myself the opportunity and the permission to be healthy, to try to enjoy the peace that actually has been there all the time, but that maybe I choose not to enjoy, or not choose not to enjoy, but I struggle to enjoy because of the distractions, the trauma, the tyranny, the information, the insanity that's just around me all the time. And you'll know what I'm talking about. I've already started doing a lot more reading. I do like reading. I've not done enough of it in recent years. I've been reading more, and it's interesting how actually when you're planning to trying to tease out the ideas for a book, which will be my second book, how if you read, you start to feel more creative and see things with more clarity. And I do have some very clear ideas on the themes for my second book, which is essentially a study on propaganda. You know, what is propaganda? What are the various facets of it? What does it seek to achieve? How does it achieve it? How does it affect the individual and society? Obviously, some examples, which are numerous from the last few years, that I can talk about as well. And probably the biggest question of all, really, because it's still a topic that's not very well understood, propaganda and how it's weaponized. But what does it say about a society that is so enslaved to propaganda? Why? You know, why? Why are we so enslaved to propaganda? These questions need answering, and I believe I can answer these questions. And I'm going to attempt to do that in my second book, which I am looking to write in the next year or two. On the subject of books, I have written a book already called The Imperfect Individual, Why Our World is in Turmoil and How You Can Save It. For anybody who isn't aware, please do have a little look at the book. The link is in the description. I don't like to push this channel or my book. I really don't. However, it's, you know, that is something that I can look upon as a legacy, and unfortunately it's not had any traction really at all. I would love it if it had a little tiny bit more exposure, only because it's something that I know I'm good at, is to look at society and answer some deep existential questions about where we are, to describe our age, and to try to shed some light on why the world is in the position that it is in, and why we who cherish individuality and sovereignty and freedom, and you know, these concepts are talked about a lot, why we are really under threat at the moment. So please do, if you've not had a look at the book, please have, if you click the link in the description to this video, I would massively appreciate that. I think I've sold only about 50 copies or something, and you know, that's okay. That's okay. But I would love it if it got a little bit more exposure. If anybody knows of any good ways to publish as well, because I was very unhappy with the publisher that I had for my first book. Apart from the actual physical product, which was good, everything else about it was a total scam, corrupt like everything else in this world. So I'll have to look to explore a different path for publishing, and I don't really know what I'm doing really. So if anyone has any ideas, please do let me know. I hope this explains adequately why I've decided to make this decision, and you know, the reasons for it. And this isn't me bailing out. This isn't me giving up the fight. This is me just reorientating myself in this world. I'm recognizing that I need to prioritize myself and my health and my own well-being. Cliches, I know, but true. In terms of, I'm going to save the best till last, the thanks till last in this video. In terms of where we are, well, the world's a very dark place. I feel that very many people are gaining a very horrible clarity on just what human nature is and what it's capable of, and what human societies are capable of, particularly human societies that exist at a time when that civilization is falling rather than rising. Again, I talked about propaganda before, study of society, human nature, psychology, really only in sociology in their infancy, really, you know. There are many questions to be answered. There's much material to be worked with in the last few years. I don't need to tell you that. When it comes to will the people who have been harmed, of which there are millions in this world, and their families receive justice? Unfortunately, no, I don't think so. So one of the dilemmas for people like me is how to not only exist, but to try to enjoy life, whilst at the same time realizing that you're living in a world that really doesn't value, to a large degree, I mean, freedom is a cliche, you know, that doesn't value to a large degree human life itself. How that doesn't value dignity, and that is cowardly by virtue of conformity, really. You know, conformity for conformity's sake is ultimately the worst form of cowardice there is. That is cowardice in its most in its worst, you know, kind of incarnation, really, is conformity just because it's easier, and that's what I've learned. You know, there isn't an appetite for retribution, and yes, that is the right word, retribution. There isn't an appetite for justice. There isn't an appetite to see those who have orchestrated this harm be made to pay for their crimes. There is now an acknowledgement. You only need to, you could speak to, I've had many interesting conversations recently. People are quite open now. If you preempt them, they're quite open about, they know they've been lied to about everything, particularly obviously the COVID situation. The times of people like me being called a conspiracy theorist en masse are over. People do know we were right. I think people are in a state of abject shock, potentially, in a state of inertia. But what I don't detect really is there is an undercurrent of anger in a way. There isn't the level of anger that I would have expected by now. Maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. Maybe if there was an outpouring of anger, it'd result in, you know, the worst of all worlds. I don't know. What I'm saying though is that when you consider the way that people have been taken advantage of, how they've sold themselves out, how they've believed the worst possible lies, and have been coerced into these horrendous behaviours and terrible beliefs, how they've been taken advantage of, how they've been robbed of their dignity, of their money, of their bodily autonomy, of their ability to think, how they've been robbed of their family members, of their own health. You would expect a society that was in some way healthy in mind, body and spirit to react in a particular way. I don't know in what way, but maybe in a way that there would be flashes of anger, you know, when you spoke to people, you know, and there would be an outward expression of, this is unacceptable, this is terrible, what's happened, we've been exposed to evil. But no, there's not really. There is a gentle unveiling of the bloodthirsty pantomime for all to see now, and most can see it. They can. Most know they have been living a lie, but most are, if not content, are prepared to continue living with that lie and in that lie and be that lie. That is where we're at. So how to find a way to exist in that world, to live in this parallel society, to ignore the insane and ridiculous truthers as well, who are in some way on the same wavelength, tied into the same horrible energy as the masses were in 2020 and 2021. I want nothing to do with them either. Now this brings me now to yourselves, because I believe there's a group of people in this world, and I'm not going to arrogantly declare myself one, although I like to think I've got the ability to be able to imbue a conversation with a degree of objectivity, to imbue my life with some attempt at, you know, at some worthwhile values that I can discern to some degree, that I can create something of value, and that I can converse in a way that is intended to find solutions rather than divide, and that I'm introspective to some degree, for all my faults. And the reason why I've loved it, why I've continued to do my YouTube channels on this YouTube videos on this channel, is because I believe that this small niche on this YouTube channel and the subscribers that I interact with, and that's many of who I've become friends with, who send me emails, who correspond with me, and who leave comments, and are of that same ilk. I resonate with you, you resonate with me, and I just want to say thank you so much to everybody who has commented, who has contributed, particularly the people who regularly comment, and particularly the people who've been there for a long time. I know some of you since the start. There are people in my life, in my immediate circle, who have never even acknowledged that I've got a YouTube channel or a book. It's like it's some kind of alien concept that they don't even want to acknowledge exists, which is bizarre. I don't know why that is. Do I intimidate people? I don't know. It doesn't matter. What I'm saying is that there's people I've never met who have resonated and relate to what it is I say, what it is I do, or what I try to say and what I try to do, and who get a lot out of it. And equally, I wouldn't have continued to do these videos if I was just talking to myself. That would make me insane. And the reason I've continued is to try to, you know, if I've just helped one person with each video, then brilliant. If I've helped one person to see the world in a different way, if I've helped one person to crystallize something. I've also appreciated the times, few and far between though they've been, where I've been directly challenged on what I've had to say. I believe that's another problem that our world needs to solve, is this inability of many to listen, to hear, and to converse with those with whom they disagree. But I know you're not those people. My subscribers are people who are intelligent, who are introspective, who are grounded and humble, who can have a conversation, who have their own ideas, and they can discern, they can they can converse in a way that is creative and free, you know, and you can't put a price on that, and there's not many people in this world who can do that. Most people, unfortunately, are consumed by inertia, as I say, propaganda, ideology, or just out and out brainwashed. So thank you so much to everybody. As I say, this is the last video. However, my email address, I think it's the imperfectindividual@outlook.com, but the link to the email is in the description as well. Please do email me if you want to stay in touch. Apologies that I've been a bit lax in getting back to people. I think particularly on Telegram, I will try to answer all of the comments on Telegram. I'm up to date with the answering comments on YouTube, and then I'll be getting rid of my phone and trying to return to that life that I know a lot of us want, a simpler life. Things were simpler. I was only born in 1982, you know, so I'm no spring chicken, but, you know, I'm certainly not a decrepit old man. But things have changed so much since the 80s and 90s, and things were better. Society was better, and to a large degree it was because there were less complications. The technology wasn't all pervading. We talked to each other more, and things were just simpler. And simplicity is clarity, and simplicity is contentedness. And I have a feeling that in the coming months and years there will be a rebellion against many facets of technology, particularly the smartphone, and people will throw them against walls and smash them up to bits, or just sell them and make a few quid like I will with mine. So there we go. That's where I'm at. I hope everyone is well today. Thank you for watching this video. Thanks for all the support once again. Do email me. I will make sure I reply to emails. It might not be straight away, but I always reply. And yes, from the Imperfect Individual on this last video, it is over and out from me. And bye bye, and thank you.